Until you own yourself, you will always, in some way, be owned by others. That sentence sounds like a warning, but it's not meant to frighten you. It's a mirror, one Carl Jung held up to humanity for decades. A mirror you can either dare to look into or spend your life avoiding. Because the truth is brutal. Most people do not own themselves. They think they do. They think they're in control. They build lives, careers, relationships. They make choices. They post confident words on social media. Yet, if you peel back the pride, the distractions, the mask, you find something more uncomfortable. People are being lived by forces they don't fully see. They're owned by habits they never consciously chose, by expectations they never questioned, by voices in their heads that sound like theirs but aren't. They're not living. They're performing for approval, performing for love, performing for safety. And the script they're following wasn't written by them. It was written by parents, teachers, ex-lovers, childhood trauma, culture, fear. Every day they act it out automatically, unconsciously, calling it life because they've never been shown an alternative. Carl Jung had a word for the hidden driver behind this performance, the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It's not a demon. It's everything about yourself you reject, abandon, suppress, or forget. It's all the parts you don't want to be seen. And here's the terrifying paradox. Everything you push away doesn't disappear. It hides. And while it hides, it controls you silently, invisibly. It makes your decisions for you. It picks your relationships. It guides your reactions. It runs your life from the dark. So let's get uncomfortably honest for a moment. How many of your beliefs are truly yours? How much of your personality is actually authentic? And how much of it is just a survival mechanism you built to be accepted? How often do you act from who you are versus who you were trained to be? That's what Jung meant when he said that until you face the parts of you that you avoid, the insecure parts, the reactive parts, the ashamed and needy parts, someone else will always have the strings. You'll be owned by the people who trigger you, by the roles you feel trapped in, by every voice that makes you feel you have to explain, defend, or prove. And the cruelest part is you won't even know you're owned. You'll just call it who I am. That's the invisible prison. The one you carry everywhere. The one no one told you existed. The one Jung spent his life trying to expose so you could finally escape. You don't wake up free. You earn it. Escape isn't easy. You don't wake up one day and suddenly own yourself. No motivational quote does that for you. You have to earn yourself. You have to reclaim every inch of you that you abandoned to be accepted. Every opinion you swallowed, every emotion you suppressed, every truth you diluted just to fit in. And that process is brutal. Because owning yourself means facing every part of you, especially the ones you hate. It means confronting your jealousy, your rage, your insecurities, your addictions, your false humility, your fear of being forgotten, unloved, unseen. It means realizing that most of your kindness came from fear, not love. That most of your silence came from shame, not strength. That most of your personality came from pain, not purpose. And when you finally see that, something inside you either breaks or wakes up. Because once you see what owns you, you can't unsee it. You can distract yourself, but you can't unknow the truth. And then the real question arises, what are you going to do about it? Most people run. They distract themselves. They get louder, busier, more impressive. But the pain never leaves, because distraction doesn't heal the shadow. It feeds it. But if you stay, if you sit with the discomfort, if you stare into the mirror and refuse to look away, something else happens. You begin to take back your power. Bit by bit, you start noticing when you're not being real. You start catching yourself mid-performance. You start hearing the false voice in your head and replacing it with your own. You start reclaiming yourself, not the curated self, not the performance, but the authentic one. The one who doesn't need applause to feel worthy. The one who doesn't react to every trigger. The one who doesn't compromise to be liked. And that's when people start noticing the shift. You become different. You speak less, but your words hit harder. You stop explaining. You just are. You stop defending. You don't need to, because you're not playing their game anymore. You're not performing. You're present. And that kind of presence changes rooms. It rewrites dynamics. It makes people uncomfortable, not because you're cruel, but because you're free. They feel it. They feel that you're not owned by fear, not owned by opinions, not owned by needing to be understood. You're owned only by one thing now, yourself. That's power. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that sits. The kind that doesn't flinch when tested. The kind that doesn't chase approval. The kind that doesn't trade truth for validation. And when you move like that, when you finally own yourself, the world treats you differently. People don't test you. They watch you. They don't interrupt you. They listen. They don't question your silence. They respect it, because you're no longer reacting from a fractured self. You're acting from a whole one. Wholeness is rare. That's why it's magnetic. Becoming whole. Jung's privilege of a lifetime, Jung once said. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who they told you to be. Not who you had to become to survive. But who you really are, underneath the masks, the noise, the fear. And when you get there, when you finally own every piece of yourself, you become untouchable. No one can shame you for what you've already embraced. No one can manipulate what you've already integrated. No one can control a person who has nothing to hide from themselves. So the next time you feel reactive, defensive, triggered, pause. Ask yourself, who's responding right now? Is it the real me, or is it the one I created to survive? Because if you're not choosing, then something else is choosing for you. And that's what it means to be owned. But you don't have to stay owned. You can start becoming your own master. And the moment you choose that path, the game changes forever. Why we avoid ourselves. Most people spend their whole lives building a personality that protects them, not reveals them. What you call you might not even be you. It might be defense. It might be a performance. It might be the safest version of yourself that could survive in the world you were raised in. Jung warned us, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And he was right. We build walls. We wear masks. We stay busy. Because the truth underneath all that noise terrifies us. Why? Because the truth is raw. The truth is that you're angry. You're tired. You've lived your whole life needing to be liked, needing to be accepted, needing to be something for someone else. And now you don't know who you are without the role, without the approval, without the performance. And that's what Jung meant when he said, you'll be owned by others until you own yourself. Because as long as your identity is tied to their reactions, you're not free. You're rented. You belong to the people who clap for you. You belong to the ones you fear losing. You belong to the past that shaped you. But the moment you start confronting this, not running, not distracting, but actually sitting with it, everything begins to shift. Individuation, the real work. You start noticing your programming. You see the people you attract, not as coincidences, but as mirrors. You see your triggers not as flaws, but as unhealed wounds screaming for your attention. You see your habits, the numbing, the proving, the pleasing, for what they really are, survival mechanisms, not truth, not identity, just leftovers from the past. And suddenly you wake up. You realize you've been reacting your whole life, not choosing, reacting. Reacting to childhood pain, reacting to rejection, reacting to fear of not being enough, reacting to the roles you thought you had to play to feel safe. But now you see it, and when you see it, you're no longer a slave to it. That's the moment you begin the process Jung called individuation, becoming whole, integrating your shadow, owning your flaws, understanding your darkness without being consumed by it. Because your darkness isn't your enemy. Your shadow isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to complete you. It holds your power, your boundaries, your instincts, your suppressed rage, your ability to say no without guilt. Everything you needed but had to bury to survive, it's still there. And now it's time to dig it up. Not to act out from it, but to integrate it. To say, yes, that's part of me, and I'm not ashamed of it anymore. Because when you own the parts of yourself that once controlled you, you become something different. You become dangerous in the best way. You become someone who's no longer trying to be understood. Someone who doesn't need permission to exist. Someone who can stand alone and still stand tall. And people feel that. They feel the difference between someone who's performing confidence and someone who's embodied it. They feel the stillness, the calm, the unshakable presence of someone who's not hiding anymore. And that energy disrupts everything. Because the world is built on performance. It rewards fake smiles, quick answers, surface-level confidence. But you've gone deeper. You've earned your authenticity through fire. You've sat in silence with your shame and decided not to run anymore. And that kind of presence, that kind of authenticity, it cannot be owned. That's what Jung meant. You don't become free by pretending to be better than others. You become free by no longer being a stranger to yourself.